This is the best iPhone you can buy for $1,000, and it's the iPhone 14 Pro. I picked up this base storage purple model 3 days after they went on sale, and these are my full thoughts on this refined flagship that applied to the iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. Starting with new features, I think the most compelling upgrade the Pro brings is the upgraded camera system. It features a 48 megapixel camera with a 65% larger sensor, a 0.5x wide angle, a 3x telephoto, and a not newsworthy virtual 2x telephoto that uses the middle pixels of the 48 megapixel main. There's also a front camera with the widest aperture in an iPhone yet, and autofocus. These are all coupled with new software features like Action Mode, Cinematic Mode up to 4K, ProRAW up to 48 megapixels, and ProRes that put this camera system up at the top level of phone cameras these days. In the field, I found photos to be great at the standard 12 megapixel size, really cream of the crop for flagship cameras, and the flexibility with the massive up to 48 megapixel ProRAW files allow robust post-processing for more serious photography. I will say, I've seen examples on Twitter of this camera slacking in certain situations like at night, and obviously other phones like the S22 Ultra with a 10x optical zoom beat out the 3x of these iPhones. But look, these are edge case scenarios, and overall, these cameras are amazing. And video looks great here too at impressive resolutions coupled with more stabilization modes than ever. I'll show some more sample photos and videos once we get a bit further into the video. Before that though, there's the dynamic island, which I'll briefly talk about before moving on to the surrounding display. I think the dynamic island is decently overhyped right now, as I've seen coverage saying it necessitated the new display engine for physics-based animations, or that it'll be copied by every other phone manufacturer within a year. In reality, it's a slick gimmick to make a double cutout in the screen seem like a feature. It is well equipped by pre-existing APIs to enable a lot of functions right off the bat, and is especially fluid because of the 120Hz screen, but I think the wow factor will fall off steeply in the coming months, because, let's be honest, it doesn't use even remotely new technology, maybe with the exception of accepting touches in an area not actually on the screen. I personally think the future of accommodating front cameras until under-screen cameras are good is the smallest footprint possible pushed up into the bezel as far as it can go, but I guess we'll see where software cover-ups like the island go until things advance to that point. Diving into the surrounding display, there's an OLED screen that's got a new max brightness of 2000 nits, a max refresh rate of 120 Hz, and a new minimum refresh rate of 1 Hz for the always-on display. The always-on display is cool in that it's here and an option finally, but it does seem to negatively impact battery life quite a bit, and I wish it excluded the wallpaper for a smaller visual footprint. When the screens jump out of that always-on display, the 6.1 and 6.7 inch screens on the Pro and Pro Max respectively show off impressive colors, contrast, and brightness. I talked in my M1 iPad video about how that screen was as good as IPS gets before jumping into the OLED territory, and this is the OLED territory I was talking about. Inky blacks, great colors, and brightness that holds its own up to direct sunlight. And speaking of sunlight, let me show those example photos and videos I promised earlier, starting with prime shooting environments in sunlight and getting less ideal from there. There's also a new chip in the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, the A16 Bionic, paired with 6 gigs of RAM. It's an incremental silicon update, an average 8.5% increase on Geekbench scores, and that's not a bad thing as there's really zero bottlenecking of things you can do on a Pro iPhone. It's fast and capable of handling absolutely everything you'd want to do on a phone in 2022. I will say, this being my first 120Hz phone, it's somewhat hard to discern how much of the smoothness you can attribute to the speed of the chip and how much is just the magic of a high refresh rate. Regardless, those two things undoubtedly work together to make the user experience with this phone very enjoyable. Lastly, before some tangent thoughts on all smartphones, note that this phone is eSIM only in the US, so if you live here, make sure your carrier works with that. Okay, overall, this is a phenomenal $1,000 phone, and I enjoyed my time with the most expensive phone I've ever owned. But in the bigger picture of phones these days, I think flagship phones are leveling off for now. This particular form factor of slab phones with edge-to-edge displays isn't seeing a lot of innovation, and what little there is repackaging of what we already had, like with the dynamic island. And a good chunk of the other new features apply to very rare situations like with crash detection and emergency SOS via satellite. So just like the era of significant bezels and home buttons ended with the Galaxy S7 and iPhone 8, I think we're at the end of this era unless A, we get some mainstream innovation, or B, phones move on to something entirely different like what Samsung's doing with their folding and flipping phones. I'm definitely not set on that being the next iteration of what a smartphone is though. But hey, closing off this side tangent, this doesn't mean the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max are bad, as they're the tip top of the Apple side of the current flagship scene, and I very much enjoyed my time with them. Subscribe for more quality tech videos.